Before you tonight, we have Indian Hills 6th Edition Parkland Exchange proposal, comprehensive plan land use amendment, rezoning, and a preliminary subdivision plat. So basically includes four components. The exchange proposal to relocate the existing 41,063 square foot parkland parcel, which is currently owned by the City of Moscow, to a 51,400 square foot parcel owned by Thompson Development, LLC. Also a proposal to amend the comprehensive plan land use designation within Phase 3 of the subdivision from the auto-urban residential designation to a combination of auto-urban commercial as well as urban residential. You also have a proposal to rezone Phase 3 from moderate density residential, which is our R2 zoning district, to a combination of RO, which is residential office, and general business, GB zoning districts. And lastly, you have a preliminary subdivision plat proposal for the replat, and this is the replat of phases 2 and 3 of the Indian Hills 6 subdivision. So just to familiarize yourself with the subject property, it's highlighted in red and white, center of your screen. This would basically be phase 2 and phase 3, original Indian Hills 6 subdivision boundary, extended to this west boundary line, to the north here, to the south of the old Tidymans property, which is currently used by NRS, as well as bordering on Alturas Technology Park to the northeast there. You have vacant agricultural lands to the south, as well as one single-family dwelling, and you also have various residential dwellings to the west and to the north. Taking a look at the comprehensive plan land use designation, auto-urban residential presently, and we're taking a look at basically phase 3, which is this area. The proposal before you tonight is basically to amend that designation to the urban residential, this tan color here, as well as a auto-urban commercial designation, which is going to basically carry the designation for the USDA property here on the corner of Indian Hills Drive and Mountain View. So taking a look at auto-urban commercial designated areas, those areas are intended to provide for commercial services and developments that are motor vehicle oriented, or those which require large amounts of land. Those areas should be located adjacent to existing commercial developments, also along major arterials where vehicle traffic can be accommodated. Such areas are most appropriately zoned motor business. The urban residential designated areas are intended to allow higher intensity development, which ranges from single-family neighborhoods to attached and multifamily residential uses. Commonly observed densities are 4 to 15 units per net acre. Areas appropriate for this designation include located in close proximity to the city core, areas of commercial development, areas adjacent to those close proximity to designated arterials. This designation could also be utilized to create and reinforce urban single-family neighborhoods with alleys and rear garage access similar to the near downtown areas. Lands designated as urban residential, commonly zoned, or more appropriately zoned, medium-density residential, which is R3 designation, as well as our R4 designation, which is multiple-family residential. Looking at the current zoning for the vicinity, basically subject property is a combination of R2. You also have some R3. To the north of that, also within Indian Hills 6 subdivision, would be the R4, which is multifamily residential. You also have two properties which were rezoned a few years ago from general business to RO. You also have Alturas Technology Park to the northeast, zoned RTO, Research Technology and Office. You also have other properties within Indian Hills 6 subdivision that are also zoned R2 to the west. You also have a farm ranch designation to the south. There is one discrepancy I'd like to point out on the map. Currently showing this as general business. That's actually a motor business designation on that property on the corner of Mountain View and Indian Hills Drive. The proposed zoning before you tonight is basically a combination of RO and GB. Essentially just changing the areas within Phase 3. You have a 3.82 acre area which proposed to be zoned RO. You also have a single acre area of land which is proposed to be rezoned to general business. Looking at the GB zone, it's intended to provide for the location and grouping of compatible retail enterprises having common characteristics of dispensing commodities, providing professional services, or providing personal services to the individual, which do not involve more than incidental or limited assembly, fabrication, or storage of commodities. There's a couple of different scenarios, circumstances where the GB is appropriately applied. The first ones are on the periphery of the CB, central business zoning district, where retail uses are appropriate, yet the distance to community parking facilities indicates a need for on-site parking. And the circumstance that applies to us in this instance would be at dispersed commercial centers where the grouping of retail and office uses is appropriate to serve community or regional needs. RO zoning district is also a moderately intensive zone, includes both offices and high-density housing. It's intended to serve as a transitional zoning district between residential zones and commercial or industrial zones. It's appropriately applied in four circumstances, the first one being on the perimeter of commercial or industrial districts where they butt residential land uses. The second one being where transportation network use is greater than desirable for lower density residential uses. The third, where landforms create sites which are reasonably accessible by transportation systems and which are buffered from nearby residential areas. And lastly, where the development patterns in a neighborhood will allow development of moderate intensity to occur without producing adverse visual impact or harm to the transportation network. And taking a look at the uses allowed within that RO zone include single-family dwellings, two-family dwellings, twin homes, townhouses. You also have multifamily dwellings, as well as professional office uses are allowed within the RO zone. R4 puts a cap on those at 2,000 square feet. There's no limitation like that in the RO zone. This is looking at the original subdivision plat for Indian Hills 6. You can faintly see a black outline for the original boundary. You also have, would be the proposed subject property before you tonight, which is outlined in blue. You can see the current parkland location labeled as Parcel B, 0.94 acres. You also have that large property, 5.69 acres, which currently comprises Block 7. Taking a little bit of the background, it was approved by Council April 21st, 2008. 23.45 acres with 69 platted lots to be developed over 3 phases. Also includes a mixture of the zones that we discussed earlier. The applicant has since completed the infrastructure improvements on Phase 1, and approximately half of those lots have been developed. The only 2 general business lots were subsequently rezoned 2011. As I mentioned early, to the residential office zoning district. And then in 2012, the applicant went through the preliminary plat process to remove 1 lot within Block 3 and Block 5 to adjust the remaining property lines within a portion of those blocks. That went through preliminary plat process. The applicant never went through the final plat and decided instead to incorporate some of those changes within the current proposal before you tonight. So that brings us to the proposed preliminary subdivision plat. The first aspects, the applicant's proposing to remove 1 of those lots, just like before in Block 3 as well as in Block 5, and to adjust the remaining property lines within a portion of those blocks, which results in lot sizes ranging from a little over 6,000 square feet to a little bit over 9,000 square feet in size. Block 7, I pointed out Parcel B is the location of the original subdivision plat. It's proposed to be subdivided and the lot line adjusted in the northwest corner in order to accommodate a proposed parkland exchange parcel. The remnant of Block 7 then is proposed to be subdivided into a 1-acre parcel and then the 3.82 acre parcels. So that portion is also before you tonight to be rezoned, as well as the comprehensive plan land use designation amendment. So this is Block 6, and this was the Parcel B that I just mentioned, where the original park parcel was located. It's now proposed to be platted into 13 lots, including 2 flagpoles. In the prior configuration of Block 6, including 9 lots and the 0.94 acre park parcel. The new lots within that block now range in size from little over 7,000 square feet in size to about 10,882 square feet in size. But overall, there's going to be no change in the number of lots within the proposed subdivision with the current proposal. So this brings us to the subdivision, preliminary subdivision plat. Basically, you have Block 3 here, which is one lot will be removed, and the lot lines are currently adjusted. You also have Block 5, which the same thing is occurring. And this would be the Block 6, which currently has the parkland parcel now reconfigured, and you see those two flagpole lots with access off of a Pony Place in the center of that block, and you also have residential lots which wrap those two flagpole lots. You also have the proposed parkland exchange parcel, basically moving from Block 6 to portion of Block 7. So this is 1.18 acres, went from 0.94 acres to the proposed 1.18. You also have Block 7, which is now described as lots 3 and 4. You have that 1 acre parcel, and you also have the 3.82 acre parcel. You have Indian Hills Drive here to the south. Also part of the development would be a new stormwater detention pond, and that's down here on the corner of Palouse River Drive and Blaine Street. So taking a closer look at Parkland Exchange, once again, going from the 0.94 acre piece on Block 6, the proposed location is going to be contiguous with Alturas Public Park. It's 1.1 acres in size. And this is just to go over and review our Parkland Exchange requirements within the subdivision ordinance and our city code. Parkland dedication section states that dedicated parkland may be sold or traded only if the proceeds are used to acquire other parklands which in the judgment of the council will better serve those who would be users of the parkland sold. And then reviewing state code, first requirement is the council must first declare the value or minimum price, if any, it intends to receive as a result of the conveyance or exchange. That declaration, either in the form of a minimum dollar value or an explanation of an intended exchange, shall be made on the record at a public meeting of the City Council. Following that declaration of intent to sell or exchange the real property, City Clerk shall publish a summary of the action taken by City Council in the official newspaper and also provide notice of a public hearing before the Council. And that notice needs to be published at least 14 days prior to the hearing date. So the Parkland Exchange proposal, once again, the applicants requested to relocate that parkland within the subdivision. Prior requirement was 1.04 acres, and that included the existing parcel, 0.94 acres in size, as well as an additional $1,350, which comprised a fee in lieu of to make up the difference. If the rezone is approved, the parkland would need to increase by 0.19 acres, and this is to account for the 4% dedication increase from the RO and GB zones. Currently, the R2 zone, which is the present zoning designation, only requires 5%. The difference is 4%, so a 9% requirements for the RO and the GB zones. Parks and Rec Director is also recommending that the city refund the prior fee in lieu payment and require an additional 0.1 acres be added to the proposed new park site. That would result in a total required parkland of 1.2327 acres. The parcel shown on the preliminary plat is 1.18 acres. So, under the City Code, Parks and Rec Commission, as well as the Parks and Rec Director, are charged with providing recommendations regarding parkland for dedication. Parks and Rec Director, as well as the Commission, have reviewed and recommended approval of the proposed parkland exchange with a condition that the size increase to 1.2327 acres to account for that percentage increase in dedication. Should the parkland exchange request not be accepted and the rezone is approved, the applicant will need to satisfy the additional 0.2276 acres. It's roughly 9,914 square feet of parkland dedication in some other fashion.